A longevity doctor built an entire clinic testing almost everything on the market. Blood work, genetics, wearables, biological age tests, microbiome kits. Then, quietly, he stopped using half of it. Dr. Matt Kaeberlein didn't just study aging for over 20 years. He now runs a health technology company that puts this science into practice on real patients. And when I looked at exactly what he kept and what he threw out, one thing became obvious. Most people are spending money on the wrong things and ignoring the ones that actually work. So which is which? Let's start with what he abandoned and why. First, broad microbiome tests, the kind you mail off in a tube. Sounds impressive, feels scientific. But here's the problem. There's no industry standard for how accurate these tests actually are. No regulation checking whether one company's results match another's. If you took the same sample and sent it to 5 different companies, you could get 5 different answers. That's not a diagnostic tool. That's a guess with a nice label. Second, and this one surprises people, biological age tests, the ones that claim to tell you your true age from a blood or saliva sample. Here's what almost nobody explains to you. These tests don't measure your biological age directly. Nobody can, not yet. What they actually measure is a chemical marker in your DNA, which is loosely linked statistically to things like your risk of disease. So the number you get back isn't a fact. It's a guess, built on a guess. Dr. Kaeberlein doesn't use these in his own clinic, not because they're worthless as research tools, but because there's no proof they're accurate enough to base a real health decision on. So if the trendy tests are out, what's actually in? 4 things. And none of them are exotic. 1. Comprehensive blood work. Not 1 or 2 markers. A full panel that looks at how every major system in your body is functioning together. 2. A DEXA scan. This is the one most people have never heard of. It doesn't just check bone density. It shows you exactly how much muscle you have and where your body is storing fat. Dr. Kaeberlein recommends this become part of your yearly routine once you're in your 40s or 50s. 1 scan once a year. 3. Genetic testing. Understanding your inherited risk gives you a head start most people never get. 4. Wearables. Things like an Aura ring or an Apple Watch. Simple, already in a lot of people's homes, and genuinely useful for tracking real patterns over time. Nothing here needs a subscription to a mystery supplement. It's careful, boring, unglamorous testing, which ironically is exactly why it works. But testing is only half the story, because once people get their results, they often go looking for a fix, and this is where things get genuinely risky. Supplements, peptides, even gene therapy. Dr. Kaeberlein is unusually blunt about this for a scientist in his position. On supplements, his words were direct. We have no idea what works and what doesn't. Most of what's sold in this space has very little evidence behind it. On peptides, he goes further. Some are genuinely useful, but he says plainly that some are dangerous and that many people are prescribing them recklessly without any real safety data. And on gene therapy for longevity specifically, he says we don't even know which genes to target in humans yet. Going down that road today, in his words, is getting way ahead of what the evidence actually supports. This is a man who has spent his career trying to make this science more accessible, and even he is telling people to slow down. So here's what this actually means for you. You don't need the expensive, trendy test. You don't need the peptide someone's selling online. You need the boring stuff. Blood work, a scan, understanding your genetics, tracking real data on a device you probably already own. The tests that sound the most exciting are usually the ones with the least proof behind them. And the ones that actually work, they were sitting there the whole time. Quiet, unglamorous, and backed by a doctor who tested everything else so you don't have to.